Okay, today's topic is on foundation of Buddhist practice. Right? I'm sure many of you have come here and listened to the Dhamma, sometimes to the senior monks, Lompo, everything. And sometimes you hear of things that are beyond what you can practice. Okay, for example, when the Lompo talk about Nibbana, talk about meditation, his experience in meditation. A lot of people, they can't grasp what is in the teaching. Okay, so today we go back to the basic, the foundation of Buddhist practice. Right? In practice, it's just like you have a ladder with 50 steps to climb. Right? Of course, the ultimate goal is to reach the top. But before you can reach the top, you have to start with the lower rung, step by step. And as you move forward, you have to let go of the lower rung. Okay? So before you actually go to the next higher rung, you must have a very good foundation. Okay? Otherwise, you'll fall down. So, what do you think is the foundation of Buddhist practice? Now, all of us come to know about the Dhamma through various means, various experience. Right? I was lucky. I came to the Dhamma at a very young age, at the age of 14, right? And I attended Dhamma school. Right? Okay, let me check when you come to the Dhamma. At what age or how do you come to the Dhamma? Through what means, or through your friends, or through your own accord, that you come here to listen to Dhamma talk? Anybody? Sorry? Come again? Oh, okay. I think many of you come to Babs because of your children, right? Because of your children, you want the children to come to the Dhamma school. Then you attend the induction course, and you attend the Buddhism course. Right? That's how you got to know about the Dhamma. And then we tell you that while your children are having their classes, you can also learn the Dhamma by coming to the hall here and listen to the Dhamma. Okay, that's the beginning. Okay. If you recall, during the induction course, was it the first time you start to learn how to bow before the Buddha image? Right? Most of us, yes. In fact, before we even know about the Dhamma, we don't know who the Buddha is. Okay, when people ask you, what's your religion? Right? You say, I'm a Buddhist. Or you, in school, you have to fill in the form. And you just fill in that you're a Buddhist. Which is very common. Right? In fact, when I was in school, I only learned about who the Buddha is in a history book. Okay? That Buddhism was founded by a prince called Prince Siddhartha Gautama. And that's all I know. Right? Until I go to the Dhamma school. Okay? And it's only during the Dhamma school that we were taught the life history of the Buddha, right? In detail. Right? Then the autobiography of the Buddha, what the Buddha did, what the Buddha founded, and what are his teachings. Right? So similarly, when you're asked to bow to the Buddha, during the induction course, you bow because you're asked to bow, and everybody follow. So it's quite embarrassing if everybody bow and you don't bow. Okay. So that's how we start. Okay, that's our starting point. So what is the foundation of Buddhist practice? Anybody? How do you start? You start with 5 precepts. Okay, good. What do you do this morning? The first sentence you chant. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Right? We always start the puja with this verse. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. And what does it mean? Homage to the Blessed One, homage to the Noble One, and the fully self-awakened One. This sentence alone has a lot of meaning. If we understand what is the Blessed One, what is the Noble One, and what is the fully self-awakened One. Okay? Then after that, what do you chant? Refuge. Taking refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. So this is the foundation of your Buddhist practice. Okay? Without this foundation, you won't be here today. Why am I here today listening to the Dhamma? Because you find that it is something good for you. Right? What the Buddha taught is the Dhamma. Right? Of course, first you got to understand who teach it. The Buddha is the one who teach it. And the Dhamma is his teaching, which when you apply, is beneficial to you and to others. Right? And then you take refuge in the Sangha. Okay? Without the Sangha, you won't have the Dhamma today. So, our foundation of Buddhist practice is based on faith, saddha. Without saddha, you won't be here today. You will not have faith. If you don't have faith in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, you'll be somewhere else, drinking coffee. Right? And chit-chatting away. But you're here today because of your faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. So, even though you find that, chanting of the refuge is so easy, because you're so used to it, okay? But it has a lot of meaning, right? So we are here today because of our faith. I haven't started yet. Okay. So we build this faith based on what? Our understanding of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Okay. Now, how does it relate to us as human beings? As human beings, we are a rare species, okay? Even though there are, how many billion? 7 billion people in the world. But there are more ants and animals than human beings. Okay? So to be born as human being is rare. Right? And heart is a life of mortals. We are all mortals. Right? We cannot live forever. We have a certain lifespan. And within this lifespan, you have to work very hard. Without you knowing it. You have been working and working. Why? Because you got a lot of mortgage to pay. You got a housing loan, car loan, children education, food for the family. So many things to do. Right? That's why you have to work. How nice if I wake up, I don't have to work. Right? Everything provided for me. Right? Okay, there are people like that. People like that who don't have to work. You're born in a rich family. But there are very few. Right? And it's even harder to hear the Dhamma. So you're very lucky. Right? This hall has a big capacity, but it's not full because people do not appreciate. Okay? That it's so difficult to listen to the Dhamma. Right? All the coffee shop talk are not Dhamma. Okay? There are talks about current issues, politics, okay? All these things. And a lot of things are very mundane. And rare is the appearance of the Buddha. Okay? The Buddha existed more than 2,500 years ago. Okay? And there's no Sammasambuddha after that. Okay? A fully enlightened one who can teach the Dhamma and have his own Sangha. Right? That's called a Sammasambuddha. And of course, there are many Buddhas. Okay, if you study the text, there are many Buddhas, but these Buddhas appear at different era, in different time. So we are very lucky that we are still living in an era where the Buddha's teaching is still available. So what the Buddha teaches is a path of practice of transforming the mind and the heart towards peace, wisdom, and liberation. Of course, these words are big words. To attain peace, to have wisdom and liberation. So how to develop peace, wisdom, and liberation? So again, we come back to the foundation of Buddhist practice. The foundation of Buddhist practice is to develop faith first. Faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. So where do Buddhists place their faith? Our religious faith is a belief and confidence in the power of supreme good. So the goodness that we create or we do, or our merits, okay, is where we place our foundation. Because if you believe in the law of karma, merits are very important. Okay, merits are the things that will bring you good results, not only in this life but also in future life. Okay. So you have to believe what the Buddha say, okay, that there is such a thing as karma. Because some people dispute what the Buddha say. They say, I do so much good, but I don't receive the result. Some people, they do so many bad things, and yet they are enjoying their life. They get all the good benefits. True or not? So it's contrary to the law of karma, right? But the Buddha said, if you do bad things, as long as the bad things have not ripened, okay, you will not see the bad result yet. You will still have the good result. Right? But these good results are probably the result of your previous actions that you have done in the past. In the past. Not in this life, but in previous lives. So sometimes you do good things, but you receive bad results. It's also because of what you have done in your previous life. Okay? So again, you come back to what? Faith. Faith in the Buddha. What the Buddha said about karma. Okay? Karma is actually a law, natural law, just a law of gravity. Okay? Whether you believe or not, it works. Okay? It applies to all beings. Okay? So the law of karma applies to all beings, whether you like it or not. But karma is very complex. Okay? It's not easy to comprehend the law, the results that come from each action, because it's not a one-to-one thing. You can do a single good deed, but the results can be tremendous, can be multiple times. Just like when you grow a seed, then you have a tree, and the tree will grow fruits. Okay? And the tree does not grow only one fruit, it grows many fruits. So one single act can give you multiple results. Similarly, if it is an unwholesome act, it also gives multiple unwholesome results. So karma works in this way. So if you believe in good enough, you have good things that come to you. Right? So when we look at the Buddha, okay, who the Buddha is, the Buddha actually represents three great virtues. Virtue of purity, wisdom, and compassion. Purity means the Buddha is free from defilements of greed, hatred, delusion. So when we take refuge in the Buddha, we know we are taking refuge in a being that is pure, right? That is free from defilements. The Buddha has great wisdom. He has the wisdom to penetrate the truth, okay, the Four Noble Truths. And the Buddha has great compassion because the Buddha teaches the Dhamma to all beings. He doesn't differentiate. Or I only teach to this group of people, but not this group of people. Right? Anybody who comes to the Buddha, okay, when the conditions are right, he will sure teach them. Okay? He even teach the Devas. So the Buddha has great compassion. So if you look back at the life history of the Buddha is actually a human being who lived more than 2,500 years ago. Okay? He's just like any ordinary being like us. We are all human beings. Okay? But the Buddha is an evolution of many, many lifetimes. Okay? It's not only through one lifetime that he becomes enlightened, but he has developed the paramis or the virtues in all his past life to become a Buddha. So he has to make a vow before a living Buddha. So the paramis that he has developed, okay, are wisdom, morality, generosity, truthfulness, patience, loving kindness, renunciation, perseverance, determination, and equanimity. All these sound very big terms. Okay? But he practices through countless lives, not only one life. Okay? He perfects it. Okay? That's why we call it the 10 perfections. Your children will know this very well. It's in the Dhamma school syllabus. And all the rooms are named after the paramis to remind them of these good virtues. So after Buddha, when the Buddha was practicing, he was called a Bodhisattva, or Buddha to be. So after you chant the refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and 5 precepts, then you chant the virtues, 9 virtues of the Buddha, Itipiso Bhagava Arang Samma Sambuddho, Vija Charana Sampano, Sugato Lokavidu, Anutaro Purisa Dhamma Sarati, Satta Deva Manusanam, Buddho Bhagavati. So these are the 9 virtues of the Buddha, okay? Which means he's perfect and worthy of homage. Okay? He's omniscient. He's endowed with clear vision and good conduct. Well done. Okay? Not like the steak, well done. But he has practiced to perfection. He's well spoken, wise in knowledge of the world, and peerless trainer of unattainable ones. He's also a teacher of gods and men. He's enlightened and showing the path to enlightenment and blessed. So when we take refuge, we seek no other refuge because other refuge are worldly and are subject to greed, hatred, and delusion. So the Buddha becomes our noblest refuge. That is Buddha me natto. Now, this is very important. Okay? So when you take refuge in the Buddha, you are taking refuge in the noble one. Okay? One who has attained to that stage through his own practice. Yeah. So the Buddha is a person, okay? During the Buddha's time, there's nobody to teach the path, the Noble Eightfold Path. Right? And he discovered it himself. So the Noble Eightfold Path is always there. It's only waiting for a person, a human being, to come and discover it. Okay? It's just an ancient path that leads you to, let's say, a place. Okay? And over the years, it's covered by undergrowth, big trees and so on. Okay? So the Buddha is somebody who comes and clears the path. which is the Noble Eightfold Path, for people to follow. That's why the Buddha is so important. Without the Buddha, you can't have the path. And when you don't know the path, then you don't know how to walk. Okay? You don't know which direction to go. So the Buddha is the one who showed the way, who showed the Noble Eightfold Path to his followers, so that his followers can practice. And during the Buddha's time, if you read the history of life history of the Buddha, there are many people during the Buddha's time who attain enlightenment almost immediately. Okay? At least the first stage of sainthood, immediately. So after he preached his first sermon, Venerable Kondana, okay, attained to the first stage of sainthood. Even without the Buddha, Venerable Sariputta attained to the first stage of sainthood after he heard one verse from Venerable Asaji, one of the disciples of the Buddha. So it's not because of anything, but it's because of the previous karma. Okay? Venerable Sariputta, Venerable Kondana, in a previous life they make vows, okay, that they want to be enlightened under the Buddha Gautama. Right? So when they hear the Buddha, the teachings of the Buddha, they attain. Okay? But not today lah. Today a lot of people listen to the Dhamma 100 times also they cannot attain anything. Because our mind is so clouded, so distracted. So the Buddha has clear vision. Okay? Every day he will survey the world. He will have certain time, where he will survey the world and see who is ready for enlightenment. Okay? So when he knows, okay, in certain places, there's this person who is ready for enlightenment, then he will go to that place. And through his teaching, the person either become ordained as a monk and practice and become enlightened, or he attains something. So this is the greatness of the Buddha, right? And even the Devas, okay, they were discussing in the heaven what is the highest blessing, okay? And they approached their king, King Sakka, and asked the same question. And King Sakka couldn't answer. So King Sakka said, there's the Buddha there on earth. Go and see him and ask the question. So the Devas came in early hours of the morning and asked the question, what is the highest blessing? And the Buddha taught the Mangala Sutta. So the Buddha is also a teacher of gods, not only to humans. So there are many things about the virtues of the Buddha that you can reflect on when you chant Itipiso Bhagava Arang Samma Sambuddho. Right? And these are all great virtues to be emulated. Right? So remember, when we say the Buddha is my noblest refuge, it also means that we ourselves have this Buddha nature in us. Okay? That when we practice, we can also be enlightened. Okay? So, in definition, there are three types of Buddha. One is a Sammasambuddha. Second one is a Pacceka Buddha. The third one is a Savaka Buddha. Sammasambuddha is one who became enlightened on his own. Okay? That means there's no Dhamma teachings in the world. And he practiced and he realized the Noble Eightfold Path and become enlightened. And then he has great wisdom. A Sammasambuddha has great wisdom. So he will establish a Sangha, a community of monks who will maintain and continue to teach the Dhamma. Okay? That's why he's called a Sammasambuddha. And no two Sammasambuddha can appear in the world at one time. Okay? It can only be one at one time. You cannot have two. You've got two leaders, they'll be fighting. So through the laws of nature, there can only be one. Right? Then you have the Pacceka Buddha. Pacceka Buddha is also one who become enlightened through his own effort. Okay? But he does not have a big following or the Sangha to continue the lineage. That's why he called a silent Buddha. Okay? He does not go around and preach, but he's enlightened. Maybe you can learn from his example. If you stay with him, then you can learn from him. And he teach to maybe small groups like that. Right? So a Pacceka Buddha is sometimes called a silent Buddha. He's enlightened, but his dispensation is not big. Right? Then the third type of Buddha is a Savaka Buddha. A Savaka Buddha is one who hear the teachings of the Buddha. That means today we still have the Dhamma. You listen to the teaching, and you practice. After practice, you become enlightened. Then you are called a Savaka Buddha, or sometimes called an Arahant. An Arahant is also a Buddha. It's a Savaka Buddha. So, when we take refuge in the Buddha, it's not only taking refuge to the Buddha as an external being, okay? But we take refuge in our Buddha nature. That means all of us have this potential to become a Buddha. So if you become enlightened, you become a Savaka Buddha. So you must have this faith that you can be enlightened. The refuge in the Buddha is not an external refuge, but an internal refuge by realizing your Buddha nature. That if you practice according to what the Buddha teach, and you follow his path closely, right, it will lead you to liberation from suffering. Okay. So today we are not talking about liberation, okay, because that is step number 50. We are talking about the first few steps first, foundation of Buddhist practice. Okay? So the foundation of Buddhist practice must start with faith. Okay? The first is the faith in the Buddha. Okay? You must understand who the Buddha is, what are the qualities of the Buddha, and also the qualities that you can develop to be like a Buddha. So now you want to be a Buddha? Right? That it is not something exclusive. Okay? Enlightenment is not something exclusive. Anybody who follows the path can also be enlightened. Okay? That's the beauty of the religion. Okay? You can reach the same stage just like the Buddha, just like your teacher. So the Buddha is our teacher. Okay? We are not your teachers. Okay? We are just facilitators. We are teaching what the Buddha teach. Is not from us. Okay? The Noble Eightfold Path is not discovered by me. Okay? It's by the Buddha. Okay? So I'm telling you what the Buddha say only. Okay? But if you dispute, it's okay. If you don't believe, it's okay. But you come to the second part. Okay? The Dhamma. There's one quality of the Dhamma that says that you come and see and come and investigate. Okay? So if you don't believe the Buddha, never mind. Okay? You can still practice what he teach, and you test for yourself whether it's beneficial to you or beneficial to others. If it's beneficial to you but not beneficial to others, then don't practice. If it's not beneficial to you but beneficial to others, also don't practice. Okay? So you practice only those things that are beneficial to yourself and also to others. Okay? So you test the teaching. You're allowed to question the teaching. Okay? But most Buddhists, they don't question. At the end of the talk, when MC asks for question, nobody asks question. Okay? But the Dhamma is to be investigated. Okay? Not everything that you listen to, you agree on. Right? There are certain things that you don't agree. That's where you are allowed to investigate. Because you must remember, The Dhamma was taught by the Buddha more than 2,500 years ago. Okay? And it was only in the oral tradition. Okay? Last time there were no paper. You can't even print anything. You can't even save in a computer. Okay? So everything is through oral tradition, okay? Through chanting. Right? So by chanting, the monks memorize the chanting. They chant every day. Okay? Just like when you listen to a song, you listen to it every day. You know how to sing the song, right? Because you memorize the lyrics already. So it's through oral tradition. And even after the Buddha passed away, there were monks who say that, the Buddha has passed away, then we can do our own things. Right? We can practice in whatever they like. Right? So luckily there was this Venerable Mahakassapa, who was a very strict monk. He quickly called a council, a group of 500 arahants. Right? And these 500 arahants are all Aryas. Okay? They are all enlightened beings. So they recite the teachings, what they have heard from the Buddha. Okay? That's why the suttas, when you read the sutta, it always start off with, "Thus have I heard." Okay? It's not what they think, what they have heard. Okay? And luckily you have Venerable Ananda, who is an attendant of the Buddha. Okay? And he was present most of the time the Buddha teach. And one of the conditions that Ananda gave the Buddha before agreeing to be his attendant, personal attendant, is if he's not around when he teach, the Buddha has to come back. When he comes back, he has to repeat what he teach to his attendant. And Ananda has a very good memory. Okay? So Ananda attended this council, the first council, and recited what the Buddha taught. And of course, over the years, some of the disciples who are not enlightened will interpret it differently again. Even when you read the sutta, you can also interpret differently. Right? So the second council will help 100 years later. Then followed by the third council. The third council was in 236 BC. That was during Asoka's time. And Asoka actually plays a very important part in preserving the Dhamma. Okay? He actually is a Buddhist king, even though before he became, in the early years as king, he was a cruel king. But after he became a Buddhist, by listening to one of the novice monk, he became a very good king, very compassionate king. And he built a lot of facilities for travelers, all these rest houses. And he built what they call the famous Asoka pillars in various parts of India. Okay? Especially the holy places like the birth, enlightenment, the passing away, and the first sermon. Okay, all these have these Asoka pillars. So because of these pillars, in later years, archaeologists were able to actually discover, all these historical facts and reenact, the places where the Buddha was at that time. Okay. So if you go to India today, you can still find the Asoka pillars. You can still find archaeological finds. So this shows that the Buddha is a historical figure, that exists in this world. He's not legendary. Okay? Some Buddhists, they believe in Kuan Yin, but there's no historical record. Okay? You have legendary stories about Kuan Yin, but there's no historical record on their birth, and life of the Kuan Yin. Yeah. So, but if we talk about the Buddha, the Gautama Buddha, okay, there are historical facts that he exists, he walked on this earth. Of course, there are some places like you go to Thailand, you can also see the footprint of the Buddha. You go to Sri Lanka, you can also see the footprint of the Buddha. Okay? So there are many explanations of it. Even though the Buddha was born in India. So the Dhamma is something that has been preserved, okay, because of this, the Sangha. Okay? Without the Sangha, you cannot preserve the Dhamma. Okay? People like you and me, we are so busy, we are work, we cannot actually master the teachings. So it's the Sangha that actually practice and continue to teach the Dhamma. Right? So there are two things that you can learn from here is, even though it's written in, the Dhamma is all recorded now, okay, in books, in internet and so on, okay. But again, it has to be tested. Okay? So the best test is to practice. When you practice and you realize it, you can speak from your heart. So the monks that come, these are very senior monks. Okay? They practice and they experience the Dhamma, and they teach what they have experienced. That's very important. Okay? So even though they don't read all the scriptures, that is recorded, but what's important is the practice. Okay? If you speak from your heart, you speak from what you know, rather than what you don't know. Okay? If you speak from the scripture, it is actually a third-party knowledge, a secondary knowledge. Even if you read from books, okay, the author that writes it is also, you're actually reading from a secondary knowledge. Okay? But if you practice and you know it, okay, then that is what you experience. Okay? So the foundation of our practice is again practice. Okay? Without practicing, you will know. It's just book knowledge. It becomes academic. It's fully academic. Okay, so for your information, the teachings were only put in writing in ATPC. But the essence of the Dhamma, okay, when you practice the Dhamma, is very simple. Is to do good, avoid evil, and purify the mind. Right? So the spirit of the Dhamma is to do good, develop the enlightened mind, that's a bodhicitta, and the wish to do good for others and to have compassion to all beings. So all the wandering in samsara is because of our negative thoughts. Enlightened mind has great love and compassion, which is the opposite of negative thoughts. So the important thing to realize is that the Dhamma is based and proceed towards enlightenment, because the Buddha preached from his experience, not theory. So what the Buddha teach is what he experienced. The practice that is a practice that gives us the protection. Okay, it's not admiring the Dhamma. It's by practicing. Real refuge is to put to practice and realize they are refuge to be sought within and not an exterior manifestation. The whole of the teaching is one mass of flexible method, appropriate generally for different time, places, and most importantly for different temperament of person. Okay. So different people may need different type of teaching. Okay. Those people who have a lot of anger, they need a lot of metta. Right? So you do more metta meditation. Those who are more rational, more thinking-minded, okay, then they do mindfulness meditation. Okay, so the Dhamma, as I said, is because of the Sangha that you have the Dhamma. And when we take refuge in the Sangha is actually refuge in the noble order of great disciples of the Buddha, lay arahants, and again this refuge is to seek from within. And recollection of the noble qualities of the Dhamma, of the Sangha. Right? So the Sangha is a great field of merit for us, okay? Because without the Sangha, you don't have the Dhamma. And the Sangha are the people who follow the precepts. Okay? As lay people, we only follow 5 precepts, but the Sangha follows 227 precepts. Okay? And the lineage of the Sangha is not broken until today, since the Buddha's time. So if you meet a monk, a Theravada monk, and you ask him, who's your teacher? Okay? Then he'll give you a name. Okay? And you trace back the teacher has also another preceptor who ordained him. And if you trace back, it is the Buddha. The first person who ordained is the Buddha. So the lineage of the Sangha is not broken until today. It's the oldest, I would say, oldest institution that still exists. Empires come and go, okay? The Roman Empire, the Turkish Empire, the British Empire, they existed for a certain period of time, but they are no more around. Right? But the Sangha is still there, okay? Because the Sangha teach peace, compassion, non-cruelty. Okay? That's how it survives. And also the truth. Okay? Truth can be tested over time. Okay? If it's the truth, you can't change the truth. So it's because the Dhamma is the truth. Whatever the Sangha teach remains. Okay? So whatever the Sangha practice is the Dhamma, not any other things. So the Noble Sangha has the qualities of faith, energy, mindfulness, collection, and wisdom. So they have great faith in the Buddha and the Dhamma. That's why they become monks. And not everybody can or want to become monk. Okay? We know that to become monk is good, because they practice good things, they develop good virtues. Okay? But why don't everybody become monk? Okay? It's because life of a monk is tough. It's not easy. Okay? You only have the 4 basic requisites. Whereas as lay people, we can have a lot of things we want. You can buy anything you want. Okay? You can possess anything you want. You can enjoy anything you want. Okay? So the monks have to restrain, and they have to observe 227 precepts. Right? So precepts are important to them because precepts develop purity of mind. Okay? So do good, avoid evil, and purify the mind. Do good easy, avoid evil also easy, but to purify the mind is not easy. Right? So they practice a lot of restraint when you practice the precept. By not looking for things outside. For normal lay people, okay, we like to look for things outside. Our senses always move outwards, all the 5 senses. Okay, we like to see beautiful things, we like to smell perfume, we don't like foul smell, we like to listen to nice music, nice words, pleasant words. We like to taste good food. Okay, we like to touch things that are good, smooth, not rough, okay? Not dirty, okay? Clean. So our senses is all looking for good things, right? Looking for comfort. So when it comes to discomfort, anything that's unpleasant, then we develop aversion. Right? So we don't develop equanimity in that process. Okay? So if you have a lot of restraint in your senses, then you find that your mind is more peaceful, more stable. Okay. So there's again another foundation in your practice, that after reciting the refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, you recite the 5 precepts. So to be a Buddhist is very simple. Take refuge in the Triple Gem. Then you can safely tell people that you are Buddhist. So next time when people ask you, what's your religion? I'm a Buddhist. So when people ask you, why are you a Buddhist? You say you have taken refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha. The Buddha is my teacher. I practice what the Buddha teach, the Dhamma. And I also try to develop the qualities of the Sangha, even though you are not a monk. Okay? So you can safely tell people that I'm a Buddhist because I have taken refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. That's where I place my faith in. Okay? Just like other religions, they place their faith in God. Okay? I place my faith in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. So that is to become a Buddhist. But you don't put a full stop there. To be a good Buddhist, Buddhists also got good and bad one. You can take refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, but you don't practice, right? You scold people, you go and do all sorts of bad things, also no good. So to be a good Buddhist, you go one step further. You take refuge, you take the 5 precepts. That's why you chant Panatipata Viramani Sikha Padang Samadhiyami. So you are here every Sunday, not to only take refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. You also tell yourself, okay, as a Buddhist, I also want to take refuge, take the 5 precepts, observe the 5 precepts. So observing the 5 precepts is to, again, to restrain the senses. Otherwise, you can do all sorts of things if you don't have these 5 precepts to guide you in your life. You see something nice you want to take. That is stealing. Okay? Taking without permission is stealing. You see some, especially in restaurant, you want some fresh fish, you go and order. Then the restaurant have to kill the fish. Okay? There's a lot of questions asked on this. Never mind, you can ask. Okay? That means you cannot eat live fish. So sometimes you go to the restaurant, you keep the 5 precepts, you ask the captain, okay, is your fish alive or not? If it's alive, I don't want to order. If it's dead, it's fine. So again, there's a question. Another question is, if Buddhists don't want to kill, why are you all not vegetarian? Okay, so there's so many questions. But you are allowed to investigate. That's a good thing about the Dhamma. Okay, you can ask. You have any query, you ask. Right? So the precepts are very important. If you keep the precepts, you find that the community will be very safe. Imagine you come here today, if you don't lock your door at home, are you worried? Somebody will come in and take away your furniture, take away your money, all this. But now, touch and go, I don't think you put money in the house. So if everybody were to keep precept, your neighbor keep precept, all the people around your neighborhood all keep precept, you can leave your door open, right? Unlocked. Because you know your neighbor keep the second precept, but you won't come into your house and take away things. True or not? So people, you walk even at night, in a dark alley, you not worry people will rob you, or kill you, right? Or rape you, okay? Because people keep the precept. And you don't have drunkard in the street. Okay, the 5th precept. Okay? And then when you do business, everybody don't lie. There's a lot of trust, If I've done my job, I invoice you, they pay you. It's so nice, isn't it? So, a lot of laws are actually based on the 5 precepts. Okay? If you kill somebody, it's a criminal charge. Okay? You can be caught and put to jail. You rob, also you can be caught. Okay? So because not everybody keep the 5 precepts, whoever is the government have to come up with certain laws, okay, to make sure there is law and order in society. Okay? Otherwise there'll be chaos. People will kill each other. Right? So the 5 precept is a protection. Okay? Protection. So you may think, if I keep the 5 precepts, but other religion they may not keep the 5 precepts. So how? It's their business, it's their karma. What's important is your own karma. Okay, you take care of your own karma. Don't worry about other people. Right? When you keep the 5 precepts, you are also practicing compassion. Okay, you don't kill means you don't practice cruelty, harmlessness. You are harmless to other beings. Right? You don't take things from others. People are not fearful of you. Right? So when you practice a precept, you are actually giving fearlessness. People are not afraid of you. You have the virtue. Okay? You give fearlessness to society. Okay? So if you keep the precept well, okay, you'll be sure, right? You can be sure that you'll be reborn as a human or above in your next birth. Right? Because animals don't keep the precept. Most animals. Right? So if you're a human being and you don't keep the precept, you are creating condition or the habits of becoming an animal. Take for example, animals. They kill each other, right? You go to the jungle, there are so many types of animals. They kill each other for survival. The big one will eat the small one. Well, the small one cannot eat the big one. So if you're a big animal, you have a lot of things to eat. Yeah. Right? There's no law saying that you cannot take things from others. The animal will snatch food for survival. Right? The animal don't have a marriage institution, okay? So they commit all sorts of things. So they don't keep the precept well. So if as a human being you don't keep these precepts, you are creating condition to be like an animal. So the chances is when you die, this condition will continue, and you're born as animals or in the lower realm. So be very careful. Precepts are important. It's a foundation in our practice. A very good foundation. If we can keep the precepts well, we are good Buddhists. So it's very simple. Okay, our foundation in Buddhist practice is to have faith first. Okay. Then from faith, then you develop sila, samadhi, panya. Okay. Faith will lead you to practice of morality. Okay. Then once you have your moral precepts are firmly established, that is the foundation for you to practice samadhi or meditation. So meditation is to train your mind, because the mind is the forerunner. Your speech and your physical action will follow your intention. It comes from your thoughts, your intention. So if you train the mind or cultivate the mind, or what we call the mental the bhavana, you train the mind using mindfulness. Right? So mindfulness is a quality of the mind for you to see things clearly. So again, it is the next step lah. Next step, after you develop your faith, then you go to sila and then bhavana. Okay? Those of you who haven't started bhavana yet, never mind. Okay, this is the second step of the ladder. Okay, and we're going to have one introduction to meditation course in July. So if you don't know how to meditate, you can attend this session and learn how to meditate. Because different people have different views. Okay, different people also practice different type of meditation. Okay? But what's important is we practice the meditation that leads us to liberation. There are a lot of mindfulness courses everywhere, right? Especially in the commercial world. Everything is mindfulness. But here we are learning mindfulness that leads us to wisdom. So sila, samadhi, panya. So the essence of our practice, okay, starting from faith, is to lead us to wisdom. Right? So from faith, we can slowly develop into wisdom. And it's through wisdom that we are able to see the rising and passing away of phenomena. So when we understand that, then we can let go. Okay? Some people like to ask the question, how to let go? So again, I like to give the analogy of letting go. It's like climbing a step, a ladder. Yeah. You want to let go of the lower rung, you must have a higher rung to cling on to before you let go. Otherwise, you fall down. If you don't have a higher rung to cling on to, you let go of your lower rung, you sure fall down. So foundation is very important. So there's a saying that you let go of a lower happiness for a higher happiness. Okay? Because we are stuck with the happiness that we are enjoying and we can't let go. Okay? So we go for a higher happiness. Higher happiness, even in meditation, you can have happiness. But we don't call it happiness, we call it joy. Because happiness is getting what you want. If you don't get what you want, then you are unhappy. Right? Joy is appreciating what you have. Whatever we have, okay, if we are contented, then we have joy. True or not? So you let go of happiness, never mind, you have joy. So there is a higher rung that you can cling on to. Okay. So slowly as you build your foundation, you can climb higher and higher. Right?